Well, the rise of EVs is taking a toll on fossil fuels. Global oil demand will now reach its peak by 2030, according to the International Energy Agency, which says the world will top out at 102 million barrels a day in the late 2020s. Yahoo Finance's Ines Ferre has been tracking this and has even more of the details on this. Ines?
Yeah, Brad, and that IEA report basically talks about the fossil fuel markets, how they have been volatile. You've got the war in Ukraine, you've got the war in the Middle East, you also have climate change that's going on. So this analysis is taking a look at clean energy initiatives around the world when we talk about solar, wind, and electric vehicles, and how those clean energy initiatives are basically impacting the fossil fuel market. So for example, in 2020, 1 out of 25 cars sold around the world was electric. In 2023, that number is 1 out of 5. So those initiatives are definitely going forward, and we are seeing that impact. Now, there are challenges when it comes to clean energy investments, initiatives that comes through supply chain issues, cost inflation, which is what we've seen with a lot of these projects. It's almost like if you kind of think about your home renovation projects, they always cost more than what you budgeted for. And that is what we are seeing with this clean energy initiative, that a lot of these initiatives are costing more than what was anticipated, and they're taking longer than what was anticipated. But the bottom line from this analysis is basically that the momentum for these clean energy initiatives are enough that demand for coal, oil, and natural gas should reach a high point before 2030. So if you take a look at the energy mix, that share of coal, oil, and natural gas in the global energy supply, that's been stuck for decades at around 80%. That starts to edge downwards and reaches down to 73% by 2030. So despite the challenges, despite the conflicts, despite the volatility that we are seeing in the overall energy market, fossil fuel dependency is supposed to peak before 2030, guys.
And Ines, you briefly touched on this, but when we're discussing these green initiatives here from individual countries, I guess what are we seeing on a country-specific basis in terms of how that's tied then with the decline that we're seeing in fossil fuel usage?
Yeah, so this analysis took a look at the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last year and the green initiatives in the U.S. And basically what it's saying is that 50% of new U.S. car registrations will be electric in 2030 because of this initiative. The other one is China, and China is the biggest consumer of energy by far when it comes to the, countries around the world. And China has its own green initiatives. It's been a leader when it comes to electric vehicles, with solar, with wind power. And if you take a look at China's GDP, if it continues to slow, as it is expected to slow down, then that will also bring down demand for fossil fuels going forward. So between the green initiatives that China is going through and also a slowdown in their GDP, you should also see fossil fuel demand slow down or come down because of China.
All right, something we will watch. Right, Ines Ferre, thanks.